Jake Turner was no stranger to fear. As a seasoned urban explorer and paranormal investigator, he had spent years venturing into the most desolate, haunted places in search of evidence of the supernatural. But this challenge was unlike anything he had ever attempted before. Surviving alone in three of the most haunted prisons in America for 50 hours, armed only with a flashlight, a camera, and minimal supplies, Westwood Penitentiary had been abandoned for over 70 years, but its history of violence and despair was far from forgotten. The moment Jake stepped through the rusted gates, a cold shiver ran down his spine. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and decay, and every step echoed ominously through the empty halls. As he ventured deeper, the silence was shattered by an eerie whisper. "Leave. Now." Jake spun around, his flashlight trembling in his grip, but there was no one there. He pushed forward, forcing himself to document the experience on his camera. Shadows flitted at the edge of his vision, the sound of unseen footsteps following him through the cell blocks. The most terrifying moment came when he peered into a solitary confinement cell. The temperature plummeted and the heavy metal door slammed shut behind him. For what felt like an eternity, he was trapped in total darkness, hearing ragged breathing that was not his own. And just as suddenly as it had closed, the door creaked open. Shaken but determined, Jake left Westwood behind as dawn approached. If Westwood had been unsettling, Iron Gate Prison was pure malevolence. The walls of this long-forgotten facility bore the scars of riots, executions, and unspeakable cruelty. As Jake entered, the oppressive atmosphere weighed on him immediately. He set up his camera near the execution chamber, where dozens of criminals had met their end. The air was thick, charged with an unseen force. And then the first real horror. His camera screen flickered, revealing a shadowy figure standing behind him. Heart pounding, he whirled around. Nothing. But the feeling of being watched never left. The activity intensified. Cell doors creaked open on their own. Objects moved without explanation, and whispers slithered through the halls, growing louder as the night stretched on. He saw movement in the dim corridor ahead, and as he approached, a distorted face flashed in the darkness before vanishing. Panic clawed at his chest. With every ounce of willpower, he forced himself to stay. But the final straw came when he felt cold hands grab his shoulders. He stumbled forward, escaping the unseen grip, his breath ragged. When he replayed the footage later, the hands were visible, disembodied, spectral, reaching out from the shadows. The final stop was the most infamous, Black Hollow Asylum, a former prison-turned-experimental facility where inmates were subjected to horrific psychological and physical torture under the guise of rehabilitation. The stories of this place were the stuff of nightmares, and stepping inside, Jake felt an immediate, overwhelming dread. The building was a maze of decayed rooms and crumbling hallways, the remnants of old medical equipment scattered across the floor. As he explored, whispers turned to screams, agonized, desperate cries that sent ice through his veins. His camera captured shadowy figures darting between the doorways, their hollow eyes locked onto him. He felt lightheaded, as if something was sapping his energy. Time lost meaning. Had it been minutes? Hours? Was he still alone? Then, the most terrifying moment of all, Jake entered what had once been the medical wing. The walls were covered in old bloodstains, and in the center of the room stood a rusted operating table. As he stepped closer, the temperature dropped to a deathly chill, and a guttural voice rasped, "Stay! Forever!" The room spun, his vision blurred. Hands, dozens of them, seemed to reach from the walls, pulling at him. Panic surged through him, and with every ounce of strength he had left, he stumbled toward the exit, gasping as he burst into the open air. As the first light of dawn illuminated the asylum's broken facade, Jake collapsed outside, his body trembling from exhaustion and fear. He had survived the 50 hours, but he knew something had followed him out. The weight of unseen eyes never left him. The whispers still echoed in his mind. Had he truly survived? Or had a part of him been lost within those walls? The footage would reveal the truth, but some things, he realized, were never meant to be seen.